Hiya! My name is King, but you can just call me King, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite Pokemon games ever, and that game is Pokemon Trozei. Pokemon Trozei is a Pokemon spin-off game that came out on the DS in 2006, and I honestly think like 10 people in North America played this game. I have never seen anyone talk about this game, not only on YouTube, but even anywhere else. I remember when I first got this game, I was asking some friends at school if they had ever played it, and they all looked at me as if I was lying about the whole game's existence. To give you some more background of this, the other Pokemon spin-off games that released around the same time were Pokemon Mystery Dungeons Explorers of Time and Darkness, which sold approximately 4.5 million copies from 2007 to 2009. Pokemon Rangers, which also came out around this time, sold approximately 2.70 million copies from 2006 to 2008. And even Pokemon Dash, which is a horrendous game, sold around 360,000 copies from 2004 to 2006. Pokemon Trozei, on the other hand, sold about 303,000 copies from 2005 to 2006. And there is literally no data past 2006 for this game, probably because they stopped making it after seeing those numbers. Somehow, Trozei did end up getting a sequel though on the 3DS called Pokemon Battle Trozei, which I have never played, but maybe a lot more people played this one since it was able to be downloaded on the 3DS store. Oh my goodness. Regardless of sales numbers, I still really enjoyed Trozei, and I remember pouring hours and hours into the game when I was younger, but it has been a bit since I revisited it, so I wanted to play the game again and give it a real-time review and determine if Pokemon Trozei is still my favorite spin-off game ever, and if it lives up to the hype that I give it. So let's go. In this game, you play as someone named Miss Fleetfoot, and it starts off with an introduction to Professor P, the Pokemon professor no one knows about, and he explains that you are going to help him stop an evil team called the, Phobo Battalion. Okay. Anyways, Professor P says that the Phobos have stolen a bunch of Pokemon in warehouses, and you need to use a special device called a Trozei Beamer to save them. He goes on to explain that the Trozei Beamer has the ability to X-ray the Pokeballs so that you can see what Pokemon are inside, and it also has the ability to transfer them back to your HQ. But in order for it to transfer the Pokemon, it needs to collect power. Power it can only collect if you gather 4 of the same Pokemon together. Yep, this is plot and lore on why a puzzle game is a puzzle game. We love to see it. You get thrown into a tutorial on how to match the Pokemon and learn the mechanics of the game. It's basically a Bejeweled / matching game where you have to match 4 of the same Pokemon in a row, either left to right or up and down, and you can slide them side to side and up and down to do so. I failed the tutorial here as well. Yippee. Once we are done the tutorial, we unlock a bunch of warehouses where the Phobos are keeping Pokemon. The more warehouses you save Pokemon from, the more you unlock, and you basically just do these puzzles the entire game, unlocking more stuff as you go. The actual puzzles always have different Pokemon and themes in them, and the sprites are really fun and cute. You basically have to get the number in the top corner down to 0 by matching Pokemon, and the more you match, the lower the number goes, and then you can move on to the next level. If you match 4 Pokemon in a row, you then have a chance to match more. Each time you match Pokemon, the amount you need to join together to get it to count as a Trozei goes down. So you can start matching only 2 of the same Pokemon together at one point to try and clear the board and get a full Trozei. Now, the Trozei time limit is actually extremely inconsistent, I found, as sometimes it lets me move the pieces for quite a while before it stops, but other times I literally move the piece in a split second and it goes away, so it's really weird. Also, the more you match Pokemon in a chain, the higher your chances of getting Dittos are, and Dittos are kind of like wild pieces and you can match them with anything. The less Pokemon you have left at the end of the stage, the more points you get too, which you can then collect prize coins from, which we'll talk about later on. After clearing some of the warehouses, you unlock the first boss battle of the game. There are 6 in total, each progressively gets more difficult as you go on. Our first boss battle is against General Buzz, who is driving the Phobo train. The character designs in this game are so freaking weird, by the way, like they don't look like characters in Pokemon games at all. They look like they're from a completely different universe. It throws me off every single time I see them. Anyways, all the boss battles play very similarly to the warehouse ones, only the bosses have abilities to replace some of your Pokemon with rocks that get in the way of your matches, and they can also make all your Pokemon turn into silhouettes or like shut the lights off, I guess, which doesn't seem bad at first, but once you continue, you realize that lots of these Pokemon sprites are essentially just circles, and it could become very disorientating. When you make matches, the boss will get knocked out and won't be able to do anything annoying for some time, but also sometimes it doesn't work. I have been actively getting matches and had one of the bosses do some stupid stuff. But anyways, I managed to fuck General Buzz up in one try, so on to more warehouses. There are other special Pokemon that will sometimes show up in these puzzles for a few seconds, and they give you extra points if you match them because it's harder to do so. But some of these Pokemon really only appear for 1 or 2 seconds, and it's really hard to Trozei them to begin with because it's only the one that shows up. So you either have to get 3 other Dittos to Trozei it, or you have to make sure that it's in the right spot while you're doing your chains. And you need to Trozei them to 100% complete this game, so F in the chat for completionists, thank God I'm not one of them. After doing more warehouses and flexing my skills at this game because I am the king of Pokemon Trozei, I moved on to the second boss, General Avery, with his Phobo Jet and rocket boots, which... Why does he need rocket boots if he is flying a jet? Like, does he fly around inside the jet while it's flying? I don't really know what's going on here, but this boss battle plays almost exactly like Buzz's battle, only the rocks come in at the side and push out Pokemon instead of just falling from the top. But I slaughtered Avery in one try just the same. Also, Avery looks like a Phineas and Ferb character, and that's all I could think about when I saw his face on the side. But after defeating Avery, it's back to some warehouses. Some of the warehouses are bigger than the normal ones as well, and they have a much higher Pokemon rate than the normal ones. And these warehouses aren't necessarily difficult, but they are super time consuming. And as much as I love this game and the puzzle mechanics, I felt it becoming a bit of a slog at some points. It's like if you don't consistently chain your Trozeis, the game becomes extremely tedious. But anyways, we are on to the next boss, who I think might have been the inspiration for Golurk. Like, look at this dude. And also he called me a clown. Obviously this game was ahead of its time. His name is Grok, and he drives the Phobos drill. What are they drilling for? I have no idea. Pokeballs, I think, but that doesn't make any sense anyways, because why would the Pokeballs be in the ground? He just growls and yells during his introduction, which I also found hilarious. The boss battle is the same, and I beat him first try just like the other two, so we're on to some more warehouses. After doing a few warehouses, I unlocked this other building, which was a house inhabited by someone named Mr. Who. He looks like if Gandalf fought the Balrog, comes back as Gandalf the White, but the White is literally crack cocaine. He kept talking to me about his balls and says that if I give him coins, he will let me play with his balls for 2 minutes. I wish I was joking. But this is just a side minigame where you have a chance to Trozei some of the more rarer Pokemon from the other warehouses if you missed it, though all of the other Pokemon in this minigame are unknowns, and my brain was hurting after 5 seconds of playing this mode, and I actually lost with 8 seconds left. I will say this level actually had some of the best music in the game though. I noticed that all of the warehouses have the exact same track playing, and all of the boss battles also have the exact same track playing, so this mode was a bit of a change, which was nice, but it still just made my brain hurt. After messing around with Mr. Who's balls, I went on to the 4th boss battle. I like how they use the exact same animation of Miss Fleetfoot every single time I go into one of these boss battles. They just change the color around depending on the boss. Anyways, I am fighting against General General Aquafina, who is driving the Phobo submarine. She kept calling me things like darling, sweetie, and honey the entire time, which was very sweet. However, I absolutely despise her because she was the first boss I lost in this game. She screwed me over multiple times by getting rid of Pokemon I had already lined up, and I wanted to lose it. It took me approximately 10 times to win this fucking boss battle, but I finally did it, but just barely, and I was back to doing more warehouses. The 5th boss of this game was driving a goddamn mecha suit and looks like King DDD if he was on crack and bonked a Pharaoh seed. His name is Bang Boolum, and I don't even know what that means. This is the weirdest boss out of them all, in my opinion. Like, all of the other ones had names like General, but this guy's name is Bang Boolum. What kind of title is Bang? Let's just go on to the battle, and oh my fucking Arceus, this battle was even more difficult to do than Aquafina's. I did eventually beat Boolum, and when I did, the final boss of the entire game was unlocked. The dreaded leader of the Phobos, the main villain of this game, the big bad, the one who set the entire stealing Pokemon scheme into motion. What the hell is that? Why does this character look like an actual gremlin? He talks like an actual weirdo, like some Dr. Claude type dialogue, and he looks so freaking ridiculous and stupid, and he's driving a hamster ball. And the worst part, this boss battle is the absolute worst. He immediately starts doing annoying stuff the moment the battle starts, and the Pokemon count is so high for this type of battle. He constantly takes away Dittos and other Pokemon I have set up to be Trozzied, and turning the lights off mechanic in this situation is so bad because so many of the Pokemon look the same, and it lasts for so damn long. I had to look 5 or 6 moves ahead because the moment you stop chaining Trozzies, you're just dead. Over and over again, I died.
No.
I even took a break and came back to it, and I almost threw my totally legitimate Nintendo 3DS out of the window. I legit could not beat this boss battle. So unfortunately, this is where the journey ends. I do remember the ending of this game was just very generic. The bad guys go to jail, Miss Fleetfoot is happy about saving the Pokemon, and then that's it. The post game is literally just you going back and playing any warehouses you might have missed and trying to Trozzy all the Pokemon in the game, including the special ones, but besides that, there isn't really much else. You do have an option to play the endless mode as well, which I will say I sunk a lot of time into and also continued to play even after recording this video. So, is Pokemon Trozzy this fantastic, life-changing, classic, core Pokemon game? No, not at all. The story is very weak, the characters are super generic and look very weird and out of place, and the gameplay is pretty repetitive. But the puzzle mechanics themselves are super addicting. Another one of my favorite games ever is Bubble Bobble or Bust a Move, depending on what version of the game you're playing, and that's another one with virtually no story, but the actual puzzle gameplay is super addicting, and I love it. I'm a bit disappointed that Battle Trozzy took a completely different and absurd approach to the puzzle formula, but I would love to see this game come back in its original form, even if it's just a mobile game. I think that would work out really well for Pokemon, seeing as other puzzle mobile games seem to pop off with downloads. Though, after seeing Battle Trozzy's abysmal numbers, I don't think that we'll ever see this game again. Oh well, time to go pay Mr. Who to play with his balls again.